Hi everyone, Claudette here with another episode of Conversations That Matter Most. I'm here with my wonderful co-host, amazing friend, and great conversationalist, Sharona. Hi,
Hi, Claudette. Hi, everybody. Glad we're together again. Hey, you know what? We're out of the hundreds here in Northern California. Woo!
Woo! And we're raining. It's raining here. I'll send you some rain, okay?
Thank you. Thank you.
Just a little bit. We don't want some floods down your way.
No, no, because it's so dry. And thus, I'm wearing fall colors today because, yes, we are in fall. And even though the heat says we're supposed to be summer, no, I'm wearing fall today.
Entice the mother nature in cooling down,
Yeah,
right?
right. Exactly. Monday.
Yeah, mother nature. All right, cool down, mother nature. It's time to take a break here.
Yeah.
So, well, first of all, welcome to our episodes, which are, we call them Conversations That Matter Most. And today we want to talk about fearing differences. And like a lot of our other topics, these topics come from conversations Sharona and I have about different things that are going on either in our lives or in the world, or and it's pretty hard to miss what's going on in the world these days. And so a lot of this is sparked from on. And the purpose of our conversations is to start a conversation. And so if you're new here, just understand that it's not about you, but it's about sharing some ideas and starting a conversation. And if you've been on our episodes before, yay, thank you for being here. Um, and so Sharona and I work in different fields. We're both coaches and we work in different fields. So Sharona, maybe share a little bit about what it is you do and perspective around, some of the things we talk about.
Yeah, I'm hot. Yes. Thanks, Claudette. My brain was thinking, but my mouth was not moving. Which happens. So I am known as the Midlife Women Dancing with Change specialist. So I work with and coach midlife women who may be struggling with midlife and really are feeling like they're just surviving, or they feel lost, or they're going, what's next, or who am I, or what. So I help them find help them find the path to what they want to do next so they can thrive wholeheartedly in body, mind, and spirit. And we do it one action step at a time. So that's basically what we do. Yeah. And how about you, Claudette? What is it that you do?
So, for myself, I work with stepmoms and helping them build and create stronger and healthier step families. And we do that by looking at the whole picture. What is it that you're struggling with? Creating a solid foundation for your family, yourself, and your marriage. And then we look at various aspects of what it takes to have a successful, happy step family. Um, and so a lot of the conversations that we have are based on, again, as I said earlier, based on things that are happening. And today we wanted to talk about fearing differences. And part of this was sparked with a lot of the racism we've heard, the politics that's going on here in the US, a lot of freeness, if you wish, of the conversations that are being shared when people are not thinking like you. And so we want to have this conversation, and one thing that's important, if you're new here, is that we don't script our talks. We really talk from our heart and our heads and our experiences and share our point of view. And if you're wanting to share your own point of view, to either share comments below on this page, or email us and share what you think, and we'd be happy to hear about it. So anything you want to add to this before we jump into our conversation, Sharona?
No, and I think one of the things I just think I want to add is I said no, and I'm going to say something anyway. Is that you may not agree, or you may disagree, or what, uh, but we don't. This is just to get the noodling going and the pondering going, so that way you can maybe have a conversation. And this is a challenging, fearing differences. This is a challenging topic. We don't want to, most of us don't want to talk about it. And yet, um, it's part of the fabric of the United States. And so I'm feeling a little, what's the word? Nervous a little bit about delving into this topic. And because I think it was interesting. I was listening to someone last night. They were talking about that we need to talk about it. And someone was asking a person of color, why do people who white or Caucasian have a hard time talking about racism? And I think and what this person said, I thought was really apropos, is they want to stand with us, but they don't want to offend us. And so there's that push and pull, is like, how do I say what I'm feeling, even though I've never, to be honest, because I appear white, I and so, I have the other side of that. I don't deal with constant racism against me. But as a human being, I find it appalling that we feel that it's okay to vilify people who aren't like us. And
Yeah.
I don't know. And that's the conversation a little bit. And the question is why do we fear these groups of people? I want to know why we fear them. Anyway, and it's not just people of color, but it's also, I was going to talk about the gay, lesbian, and queer, and trans world. But anyway, those are things that are coming up.
Yeah, and I think any other culture, right? Muslims, for example, we can go into religious differences. We can look at culturally different. There's so many things that are make us different, and yet there's so many things that make us united, right? I want to address your question when you talked about people vilifying others for not for their differences. Like you, I'm white, and I've never had to deal with racism because of what I look like. But one of the things that I grew up in Canada, and in Ontario, and I lived in Quebec, and so there's this um, fight, or this standing about your language, whether you're French or English, whether, and are you truly French or are you truly English? When I was growing up, I went to a French school, but my parents would speak to us in English and French, and so we had this kind of, and as until I opened my mouth, I looked like everybody else. But as soon as I started talking, then I was made fun of, and I was said, "But you're not French." And I said, "What?" Yes, I am. I have a French name. I live in a French community. My parents are both French. My heritage is French as far as I can. I am French. Yeah, but you don't speak like us. Well, does it matter? So I grew up with that young. And then when we moved so I always question, well, am I French or am I English? What am I? Like, what am I? And so when I moved to Quebec, and I started speaking French, they would say to me, "Oh, you must be English." But no, I'm French. Yeah, but you don't speak like us. And so when I would go back to Ontario, I would speak English. Oh, but you're not English because you have this accent. So I couldn't win. I couldn't win just because I would speak differently. People assumed that I wasn't like them. And so that was really annoying because it made me what question, who am I? Where do I fit in? And so, it makes it really hard to be open because you're afraid of being different, because you're afraid you're going to be laughed at, or worse, that as we've been seeing, people are being shot, being discriminated. um, it is terrible just because we're different or we're not the same as the person we're talking with. People are very uncomfortable. They're uncomfortable with differences.
Yeah, and I think I was as I was pondering this morning at 3 a.m. because I have insomnia. One of the things that if we go down, and I'm going to use science, and then I'm going to use what is it? Religion, whatever. Okay. So I'm going to use both. Okay. So if we start with science and we go drill down to the DNA, all our DNA is the same. Yeah, they now can say where you all, if you can go in and find out, if you're a quarter German or. And I was talking to somebody and they were saying, I go, but we all had to start somewhere. We
Yep.
didn't all pop up in Russia, or we didn't pop up on Australia. We started in one location, and then we migrate because that's what humans do. We migrate out, and because of climate and the food and where we were, we started adding um, uh, different features. Also, at the time, there was also the Neanderthals. There was also another humanoid out there. We might have ended up cross pollinating. We don't know. Who knows? So we can have, but all our DNA is the same. So this idea of race is really something that we fabricated. We're all the same. We're all earthlings, two-legged earthlings. Okay. But if we go back to, let's say, Adam and Eve, I'm just going to put that out there. Again, there were two people. They had to be in one location. And then suddenly there was a population. Then where did all those children come from? And how do they grow, right? So basically, we're all cousins. So with that in mind, I keep asking myself, why is there such a fear of other people that we don't understand? And then we group them into, since they're not like us, they have to be bad or different or wrong or something. And I do not understand where that comes from unless it's something primitive within us, that because we were in small little groups, we would fight amongst ourselves, and then we would defend ourselves from other little villages and all that. But we're now in 2016. There's 7 billion of us on this planet. Why are we making it wrong that we make others wrong? I don't understand that. And why is there such a hatred of Native Americans, of African Americans, of Arab Americans,
Hispanics.
Latinas and Latinos? Why? What are you? And the question is, what are we so afraid of?
Yeah, you brought out some good points. You talked that race is something we invented, and for me, I'm okay and comfortable with having different races, in that it helps to say, oh yeah, you're from this area. And I know, and it's getting to be more or less and less important, because we're all we're mixed. You know, a lot of us are mixed in coming from different countries, and different. So we're not, you know, so much just one type of people. And you know, there's a big debate about, is having defined race a good thing or not. I personally think it's a good thing, because I embrace differences, and I think it's a differences. In part, I think why I enjoy different things, or people who are different, is my sense of curiosity. I have a high level of curiosity, and I don't feel threatened by other people who are different from me. I actually enjoy learning different things and seeing, like, wow, this is so different. There's also a sense of having a sense of security within yourself. So, but you talked about something that I want to bring back, about being primitive, you know, the primitive people and tribes and stuff like this. And, you know, as you're sharing this, you know, one of the things that popped up to me is that, you know, when we had different tribes or races or whatever you want to call it, the resources may have been such that they were fighting for territory or resources or whatever. And so, because you asked the question, is it something that is in our DNA from far way back? That would be something interesting to look into and study, and do research, and see if that isn't part of it. But the other thing that I see is, you know, as in 2016, we're a lot more educated. I think part of what's happening is that people are not understanding and are fearful of the unknown, which tends to push us into, well, if you're not like me, then you can't be good. So I think there's that part where some people are fearful because of the unknown and feeling uncomfortable with unknown. What are your
Yeah,
thoughts?
and again, I go back to the yeah. I see. I'm gonna just go back to I personally think we need to take the thing race out and use more culture, because we're all the same. Again, we're all the human race, but we have different cultures. We have different ideology. Years ago, you know, there was the Protestants fighting against the Catholics. There's, you know, we have everybody, you know, wanting to get rid of Jewish people. There is the thing of, you know, now it's, now, you know, when people started migrating here, it was, you know, we didn't want the Irish, we didn't want the Italians, we didn't want the right. So it's culturally, it's regionally, it's all that. Um, and yet here we're still doing it with our own people. You know, recently I thought this was really interesting. The UN came down on the United States saying that what we're doing with these police shootings of unarmed people who happen to be of color is against their contract, that and we're not holding the police officers accountable for these killings. Now, again, not all police officers are bad, but this is getting ridiculous. They just killed a mentally ill person who of color who was having a seizure. What is going on? And then the question is, well, we got to train police. No, it's a hate crime. We deal differently with people of color or gender identity or anything else. And I find it, and I don't have the answer. I don't have the answer because like I said, I do remember it wasn't racism, but I do remember I was in what they call conventional jobs. I was a carpenter for many years. Um, and one of the things is I would walk onto sites with all men. And I had to deal with constant harassment and crap from men because I was a woman and I, for some reason, was a threat to them because I was doing the same job they were.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to work twice as hard and and I couldn't do exactly what they were doing because biologically it's different. So like for instance, in a woman, our center of gravity is in our hips because we have babies and we carry things this way. Men's center of gravity is up on their upper body. And there's an old exercise we used to do with men and women to show the difference. But I'm not going to go into that. And so I had to learn, I had to pump up, I had to get physically stronger, but I still couldn't carry 6 panels of full sheetrock on my shoulder. I could not do that. But what I could do is I can carry 3 on my hip with my tool belt. But again, I had to fight constantly. So imagine, I can't even imagine what it's like to be a person of color and having to that fear that if you're in your car and if you don't behave exactly well, or if you're not doing exactly what they want, suddenly you're going to die. It's like, that to me is crazy.
Yeah. It's you know, removing the human aspect that all humans are equal, right? I think if we go back to the basic, never mind, and yeah, and I appreciate you using the word culturally. Um, those are, and words have a strong meaning, so we associate things or experiences with the words we use. And culturally is probably a better word than using race. um but the one thing that you mentioned is that we're all human beings. So why is it that we can't accept that another human being would be different from us? Like, we don't have all the same, the hair color, or we're not all built the same. Why is it that because of what they look like, or their ethnicity, or their heritage, we have a hard time, under or accepting them as they are, and instead of trying to change them and mold them to be like us. I don't want anybody to be like me. It wouldn't be a good thing. And I think it's important to, I'm from a perspective of curiosity. Be curious about another person. I'm like you. I have no answers, but this is like, from my perspective, I think that when you're curious and you approach other people from a sense of curiosity, and but a healthy dose of curiosity, not from curiosity fear, but curiosity interested in knowing about you. I don't know. It's yeah. There's no perfect solution, and I don't think there's a perfect answer either. But I think it's important to open the dialogue, because the more we talk about it, the more we can be aware of what's going on, and understand that maybe each one of us can look at what we're contributing in terms of the words we use, in terms of our thought process, or terms of, what is it we're willing to do to make this world a better place.
Yeah, and I think one of the thing too, I like the curiosity. Reminds me years ago, um, when I was very curious about cactus, eating cactus. I've never, in my family tradition and where I live, there we don't eat cactus. And so I had a friend at the time, and her mom invited me over for dinner to show me how to eat cactus, and it was quite yummy. And that's when I finally realized something is sometimes having food, the food of the culture with the people to, go to, helps understand a lot about not just their language, but the food, what they eat, how they, and let's just bring everyone together and have a big meal. Because food is somehow very connecting and very soothing. Um, I think also there's a sense again of, and at least for me, is I am curious and I want to reach out, but yet I'm afraid because I don't want to step on anybody's toes. So, for instance, and one of the things that happens a lot for me is first of all, I'm an atheist, so a lot of times I'm going into places where I can hide that, but when people start talking about their religion and all that, my background is in Judaism, so I can hide that too. But I think I get a little scared because for someone like me, I grew up with a lot of incidences where there was anti-Semitic rhetoric. I was actually beaten up a couple times for being of having a Jewish background, and so. And then, of course, my family coming out over here and the Holocaust and all that. And so when people start saying, there's this, I remember in college, which was, a while ago, I remember meeting someone who never met a Jewish person. And he said something to me that was so mind blowing that it just, there was this thing he said. I'm not even going to repeat it because it was so offensive. And I looked at him and I go, but you don't even know me. You do not know me. You don't know. And to be Jewish and an atheist, that's just wackadilly. So the thing is, but I can hide that. If I'm a person of color, I can't.
Right.
I can, if and then it goes also, this whole thing with transgender people and gay and lesbian, you know, why is there such a fear of having people who identify or are attracted to whatever who they're at, such a visceral fear? So those, and so the question is, what are we as a person afraid of the other? What is that fear? What are we afraid is going to happen to us if a transgender person goes into a bathroom that is associated with who they identify with? I don't understand. I don't understand. So that's the question, and have you talked, that's like saying, I think it goes back to saying that all men are rapists. If you were
Mm,
raped, you might be thinking all men are rapists. Well, they're not.
exactly.
And
Yeah.
yet we do this daily. So I think the question is to, yes, be curious, but then ask yourself, I think, as a person, what am I afraid of with this other person? What am I
Mm,
afraid is going to happen to me
yeah.
with this other person?
Yeah, because it ultimately that's what happens, right? We bring it back to us, and we fear what's going to happen to me. Am I going to become a gay or a lesbian if I associate with them? And please, that's not how it works. It's not. You do not become a gay or a lesbian by association. That's not how it works. Um, and so if you're not sure, just read up and do some research in some science and some medical places, and that'll teach you a little bit more about this. But I think, again, I think we are afraid of becoming something that we don't want to be. And we can be different. The one thing I remember is that, or that I think is, when we look at the the black race, the people of color, one of the things is that we looked at, if you look at movies and media tend to send some messages out there about what people fear. And sometimes I think people are susceptible to those messages and believe everything they see on TV or read without questioning, is this true? Is this real? Is this accurate? So I think, again, questioning our what we're doing and what we're seeing, as to, is this like everybody? Um, and I need to share that when I shared a post earlier this week, and the title of the post that I saw was, I fit the description. I don't know if you saw it, Sharona, but it was this black man who wore a knitted hat and had a puffy jacket, and he was walking to go get lunch. And a police officer saw him and started to interrogate him, because he said, "You fit the description of a burglar that happened." The guy said, and started questioning, "Why are you stopping me?" "Because you fit the description." That was the conversation. The police officer said, "Because you fit the description." He's a black guy. Like, really? They don't all look the same. And he had this knitted hat that a lady did with weird colors. Like, how many people do you know would go around with a knitted hat with weird colors? Like, anyways, and so it really made me question: are we that, are we that narrow-minded that we see people, and all of a sudden that we put them in these huge buckets and they're all the same? We can't tell the difference and what they look like and who they are.
Well, yeah, again, it comes back to, what we're taught. You know, hatred is something we're taught. We're taught to fear. We're taught to, I think one of the things is one of the things is that we forget that not everyone thinks like us. Not everyone acts like us. We all have different experiences. We all have different values. We all have different beliefs. But basically, we all want the same thing. We all want to feel safe. We all want to take care of our families. We all want to, succeed of whatever we're doing. We all want the same opportunities. We all want that. We all want that. And we forget that, we all came to this country, except for the original people here, who've been here for many years, and we treat them like crap too. And now we have this whole thing going on. They want to, the government wants to take, not the government, but yeah, the government and oil companies want to take land away so they can create this pipeline of oil to come down through sacred land. And yet, we literally herded these people onto these little places we thought nobody could live. That's what we did here. We, in World War II, we rounded up every Japanese American and put them in concentration camps. We did that. Um, we're now we have this rhetoric of sending everyone back, sending all them back, everybody. We don't want to help the Syrians because they're Syrians, and so let's shut our borders down. And I'm thinking, but wait a minute, we all came here. We all were immigrants. We
Yeah.
all came here. Um, and yet, and the other thing I really do think in this country and in this culture, I don't know about anything, we keep saying we're a democracy. Yeah, we're kind of democracy, but we still have this class system. We have this serf and lord system. Think about it. We have a presidential candidate who is spewing such hatred and rhetoric, and yet he's still our president, and people still want to vote for him. Well, they have that choice. But I'm thinking, if and now he's proud he doesn't pay taxes. If I don't pay my taxes, right?
We're going to go to jail.
We're going to go to jail.
Yeah.
I'm thinking to myself, I realized my register was I'm thinking to myself, this is the kind of person that we want to lead our country. I don't get it. And people say, well, he tells the truth. But whose truth?
Exactly. Whose truth? Right. According to who, we all have our own truth, right? No matter who you are, you're going to experience life according to your truth. So the truth is according to you and your experiences, and that's, yeah. I think we forget our moral values and moral compass at times about treat everybody with dignity and respect no matter who they are.
Yep.
You may not like them, but at least treat them with respect and dignity. Right?
Right.
You don't have, like, I'm from the camp of, you don't have to like everybody. Like, I have friends that say you have to love everybody. Well, I'm sorry, I can't. It's not. And even if I don't want to have to love everybody, and because there are things that other people do that are so not okay with my beliefs, and we have different beliefs, and there's a reason, because we live and experience different things in life. We grow up in different times in different areas, and there's different things. But the one thing that I do believe, no matter who you are, where you are, is to have dignity and respect for one another. No matter who you are a human being, and that's what we need.
Yeah, I agree. I think dignity and respect, and I think one of the things is, I think we forget that we can disagree with each other, but I don't have to I think it goes back to communication. I don't have to agree with everything that you do. I can listen. I can try to understand, and I still don't have to agree with everything you do, but I can respect your perspective. I can disagree with it. We can have a heavy duty debate. We might end up having an argument, but that doesn't mean I have to throw down with you. No. I don't have to throw down with you because basically, I don't want to do that. But I do know how to do that if I have to. But there's that thing, is that we forget that we don't have to agree with everybody. And no, not everybody's going to like me, and I'm not going to like everybody. There's 7 billion people. I can't. It's too much. But I can treat myself with dignity and respect, therefore treating other people with dignity and respect. And if I look at my own fears, what am I afraid of? I'm afraid of the future. What am I afraid of? And then look at those fears and work through those fears might help me bridge the gap between another person who also, let's be real, everybody is afraid. Yeah. We're all afraid. So how do we quell that fear is, I think, going back and asking ourselves, what am I afraid of? Where do I stand on certain things? And again, I have a right to my opinion. I have a right to my emotions, and your emotions and your values and might not be exactly mine because those are personal things, but at least I can respect where you're coming from. So for instance, let's do it very simply. I'm a vegetarian. I don't eat anything with eyes or who had a mama. Okay, that's just me. Now let's say you're someone who's a carnivore and you eat, or an omnivore, you eat everything, whatever you like your hamburgers. Okay, we decide to go out to dinner together. I, you know, um, when I started as a vegetarian, I can remember people would apologize for eating their meat in front of me, and I'm going, I don't care what you're eating. Just don't make me eat it,
Yeah.
and that, and right, and then as I continued on this journey, and I've been again doing this a very long time as a vegetarian, I realized that more and more people are eating less and less meat,
Me.
right? And there are more options for me to go out and have someone who wants to eat meat and or fish or chicken or whatever, and I don't. We can find common ground, but that takes trust, and that's the willingness to say, and if you want to apologize that you're I'm okay, you don't have to, but you know what, my opinion, my values is I don't eat meat,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and I think you brought in a good key point here is trust. Trust that we're there for everybody. Like like your values and opinions don't need to be the same as mine, and we don't have to be saying everything eye to eye. But I trust that you're not going to be jumping on me and saying, "What are you thinking?" And I think part of, like, if we go back to the beginning of our conversation where we talked about um, black men being shot and stuff like this, they don't trust anybody anymore, and the police officers are at a point where they are fearful and they're not trusting. So how about we start by slowly rebuilding trust between all of us, whether we're talking about ethnicity, race, and I know you don't like race, but different cultures, different ways of living. What if we started with building some trust among each other, and understanding that, trusting that another person isn't going to try to change me into being like them, but will accept me as I am, whether they're gay and lesbian, whatever it is. If we trust that another person is willing to accept me as a human being, and give me the respect and dignity that as a human being I deserve, I think we may start to see some differences in a better direction. And I see this, and as I'm talking, because I work with stepmoms and you work with midlife women, I see like a lot of fear and disagreement because between stepmoms and moms, and a lot of times it's a fear of being not being accepted, a fear of being rejected, a fear of being put down, a fear of being different. And so, starting with respect and respect and giving the other person dignity, and trusting that everybody's there for the well-being of everybody else.
Yeah, and as we're wrapping up, one of the things is that I went back. Something popped into my head, and I go, I think one of the things about trust, respect, and dignity has to start with ourselves. We need to trust, respect, and have dignity for ourselves first. I, you know what? Because if I'm living in fear for whatever reason, um, I'm going to project that out into the world. Things are going to get scary. So one of the things is, I think it again, and I know this with midlife women as they're maybe going through career change or relationship change or anything, they're everything is shaken up. It's all different, and I'm sure this happened as walking into a new family, because now you're in your new village. You're got to learn the rules. If you go to a new job, you have to learn the rules, and there's fear of doing it wrong, or I'm going to be rejected, or I'm going to be cast out, as they say. So one of the things is that you need to have those conversations first in your family and your friends, of saying, this is what I'm feeling, this is my stress level, this is what happens when I'm feeling stress or fear, this is what it looks like. And let people know what you need to help you move through the fear. As a midlife woman, if you're suddenly your marriage of years have fallen apart, or your children have emptiness, and now you're alone with your spousal unit, and all of a sudden things are different. There has to be, I think, a conversation of how we move from here. How do we how do how are we going to be a team together? And I think sometimes we assume things, which makes an ass out of you and me, um, about moms and stepmoms, and I can understand a mom, with a new with a stepmom coming in, because she has raised her children a certain way, and now she's afraid she's going to lose something. So I can understand that there needs to be a conversation. So as we wrap up, maybe what do you want to share with the midlife the stepmoms who might be struggling with those fearing differences, and if the fear of the unknown, how can they reach you?
So thank you, Sharona, and you brought some awesome points here. So if you're a stepmom that's struggling with trying to fit into your new family, or if you're someone who's fearing the differences and the struggles of being as a stepmom, reach out and connect with me. You can go to my website, which is stepmomcoach.com. There's some programs, some online trainings that you can take, including Emotional Smart Stepmom, The Confident Stepmom, and dealing with conflict. So, if you're interested in those, peruse and look through them. If you want to talk with me, you can do so at Claudette at stepmomcoach.com. So Sharona, and I know that when you're dealing with midlife women, they're dealing with a lot of struggles and issues in trying to fit in and questioning who are they in this new world of them as a midlife woman. So how can midlife women reach you?
Okay, thanks, Claudette. And so, yeah, if you're a midlife woman and you're dealing with that fear of the unknown, or that fear of feeling different, or not sure how to deal with differences, you can reach me. And finding your foundation, your balance, you can reach me at Sharona at midlifewomendancingwithchange.com. My website, www.midlifewomendancingwithchange.com. Hashtag midlife women dancing with change on social media. Also, I have a new free mini seminar called Thriving in the Midst of Midlife Change. It's a free 6 part as a gift that will help you, go through the generalities of how to deal with transition and transformation while in midlife. And you can, that will be going up hopefully by the end of the week, so you can look for that. And also, I have, if you go to the website, I have exclusive weekly midlife women Moxie and wisdom thrival tips that you can sign up for, so that way, that support. And I just want to thank you all for being here. I know this was a tough and challenging conversation. And hopefully it will give you some information to help you have these conversations in your life. And also, if you find it useful, please, share with the people out there, and subscribe.
And and you can comment below. If you have any comments you want to share with us, feel free to comment below. We'll be happy to read what you have to share. Again, we're willing to hear what you have to say. And so let us know what you think.
Okay, sounds
All right.
good.
Well, thank you, Sharona. Thank you, everyone. This was a great, thought-provoking conversation. And yes, it's a difficult conversation, but I think it was a really important one.
Yep.
So thank you, everyone. Take care. See
Bye,
you next
everybody. See you next
time.
time.